Father in heaven, I pray that you will continue to give us clear thoughts, the right focus, Father God, the right strategies, so that we can do our parts in making Jamaica a better place. We ask that you cover our friends, our families, all workers of this nation. Father God, we ask that you put your blood coverage over our people. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
All right, members, thank you for attending upon the committee meeting, the PAC. When we had the date circulated, majority of the members signed that they would have been here. Unfortunately, we have a faithful few. So let me thank the 3 members that are currently here. We have apologies from Member Hannah, and that's where Ms. Lee said she would have been late, and Dwight Sibbles. But members, we had a meeting with the leader of government business earlier. It was on Monday, really dealing with the agenda for committees. And what has been asked of us is really to ensure that we hold our meetings where the PAAC and the PAC doesn't, well, the PAAC is the only committee that doesn't need any referral from the House itself to hold a meeting. We are to look at expenditures for the current financial year, and it is incumbent on us to keep those meetings when dealing with the spending of the 2021-22 financial year. So we want to ensure that when we have, and we know that there are some clashes that is taking place, because currently there's a Zoom committee meeting taking place, which both yourself and Member Lee are members of that committee. So let me thank you for pulling yourself up, sharing yourself between the 2 committee meetings. You know, and it is part of the difficulty that even if we have 3 different meeting rooms for committees, there is still the challenge of just the bodies, you know, persons overlapping in committees. So it is something that we have to deal with the schedule. I know that the joint select committees are trying to wrap up their meetings, and they clash on a Wednesday sometimes with the PAAC. So we're trying to flesh out that there is no overlapping, and that members are able to be present at the committee meeting. Unfortunately, we have the Ministry of Transport here. They were early and here before 10 o'clock. So yes, they are outside. All right, so again, members, this is the first meeting for this financial year, so let's hope and work towards a successful meeting schedule for this financial year. Well, apologies for absence. We only have Member Hannah, who has sent in an apology, and also Member Fitzjackson, who underwent some medical procedure, so he's also absent. Can we?
Chair.
Had one. No, minutes was no. Oh, January. No, we never had any for because of the budget debate. We didn't have any. Last meeting was in January. Am I correct? Right, and then we had a break for the budget debate. So, Mr. Sibbles.
Chair, I just want to communicate my apologies.
We received it, and I mentioned it before you stepped in.
I don't know if you received apology also for Ms. Tamika Davis, MP Tamika Davis.
No. Okay.
Well, she had communicated through me to apologize on her behalf, as she's also in a next meeting.
Yes.
And the reason that some of the members might not be here, Chairman, is due to that joint select
Yes,
committee.
I figure, because we have 2 other members that's a part of that joint select committee that has pulled themselves away. Because we were struggling to get a quorum at first. All right?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I think we need to sort out these arrangements for the meetings, because I am also on that committee that is meeting now.
And you were a part of the meeting with the chairman on Monday.
Right.
Because it was after that we set this date that we even realized that there was a joint select committee meeting.
Right.
I was explaining before you came in that the powers that maybe felt that we can keep 2 meetings at the same time, not recognizing that there's an overlap of membership. So myself and the clerk and the other chairman will have to work out that schedule. So we have set some dates, which we'll do in any other business for later down, which so far on the calendar, those dates are free. So I will then communicate, or hopefully when the other clerks are setting the dates, that they would recognize that we have those dates set. All right? Thank you. All right, so we move to item 7, since we to new business. We have with us today the Ministry of Transport and Mining. We have the Jamaica Urban Transit Company, Ultimate Tire Company, and I think the Montego Bay Metro also. All right, so can you invite them in, please?
I believe I got a document yesterday. No. So. Chair, if I may, maybe after we would have taken the persons from the Ministry of Transport and JUTC, we could also have a discussion about the scheduling of the meetings.
We'll do that in any other business. Yes.
In another business.
Yeah. All right. Welcome, Dr. Dawkins. You're acting permanent secretary? Yes?
Yes, I'm acting PS now.
Okay. Let me, on behalf of the members of the committee, apologize for this late start, but there is a clash of committee meetings taking place right now. One is happening virtually while we're having this one physically, and members, there was an overlap of members that should be a part of both meetings. So we're just giving them a little time to join that one and then come over to this. But thank you for your patience, and thanks for making it on time. All right, members, we have the report from the JUTC, Ministry of Transport and Works, and Ministry of Transport and Mining, right? And Ultimate Tire Company. We have both reports that was submitted. First, we usually allow you to make opening remarks, and then we can get into the questions that members may have. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. We were asked to appear before the committee, and there were several questions. We were asked to provide information related to the impact of the pandemic on the operations of Jamaica Urban Transit Company and Jamaica Ultimate Tire Company. The information was provided for the committee. I hope everyone has received the information. So the ministry is here as the parent, but the information requested related to the entities. So with me today, the Acting Chief Technical Director, Mrs. Dawn Smith-Fagan, she's behind me, and Ms. Tanya Bedward, the Senior Director of Transport Policy. And from the JUTC, Mr. Paul Abrahams, the Managing Director, who I think everybody should know, he's a public figure. With him is Mr. Owen Smith, the Deputy Managing Director of Operations. He is at the back. Ms. Marcia Hamilton, the Deputy Managing Director of Finance, and Mrs. Georgia Redway, the Public Procurement Manager. From Jamaica Ultimate Tire, Ms. Merlene Daly, she's here. She is acting as Managing Director for the moment. We are in a recruitment process. And Mr. Garnet Murray, the Financial Controller. So questions that you have about the details of the operations, I have brought the relevant persons so that they will be able to give good and complete answers. Thank you.
All right, members, you have the report in front of you. May I make a suggestion, since we have just 2 members of staff from Jamaica Ultimate Tire here, and seeing that JUTC will take a longer questioning time, that we start with Jamaica Ultimate Tire so that if needs be, they can go back to their offices, and then we move over onto JUTC. I'm asking for the committee's permission to go that route. Is that okay by the committee? Yeah? All right. What's your... Madam MD.
Daly. Marlene Daly.
Ms. Daly, I apologize. Welcome to the PAAC. Is there any opening remarks that you would like to make before members pose their questions to Ultimate Tire?
Yes, thank you, sir.
Can you use the microphone, please? Can you use the microphone, please?
Morning, sir, and thank you. We are not quite sure, what it is that you would like to find out from us, but we will do our best to answer whatever it is that you have asked or you will ask.
Okay. All right. Well, let me start off. There is an updated document that was provided to us this morning. Read Jamaica Transit, JUTC and Jamaica Ultimate. Looking at the numbers for 2020, 2021. What was provided to us in Appendix 1 compared to what was provided to us in Appendix 2 in the amounts of tires that has been supplied to the JUTC. There is a discrepancy with the figure. Seeing quantities of tires purchased 2020-2021. Are you seeing the look at, yeah, that was provided to us this morning.
This morning or yesterday, Chair? Front page you're talking about. Eh?
Yes.
Appendix 1.
Yeah, Appendix 1, where you see 5,736 quantity of tires purchased compared to what has been sold to the JUTC in new tires. So seen the appendix? All right. If you look on what was provided from the JUTC, where it says 5,736 quantity of tires purchased, this is in financial year 2020-21. What has been provided to us by Jamaica Ultimate shows only 1,864 tires, really, that has been purchased. So there's a discrepancy in numbers, so I'm trying to figure out where that discrepancy came from.
Right, Chair. I think they'll be able to explain that. You see what I'm talking? And secondly, Chair, in addition to the same concern, I'm sure while they answer the question, what we're noticing in the year 2019-2020, they would have a quantity of 8,163 tires at a value of $225+ million. And then in 2020-2021, we're seeing less tires value, less tires at 5,736, as you have mentioned, for a higher value, which is almost a difference of 75 million. So is it that perhaps some explanation can be given for that? You're seeing what I'm talking?
Chairman, would you like me to take the second question?
Sure. Yes, Ms. Lee's question. Mr. Abrams will answer that one for you.
On the information 2021 at 5,736, there is a bit of information that the 300 million that you see is the value.
He's answering the question.
It's the value of purchase orders. It is what we send for purchase orders to JUTC. It does not reflect exactly what will be delivered in that situation. Whereas the information is up to March 31st, but the tire information of the quantities are up to, if I'm not mistaken, January 2021. So you have purchase order value at March 31st, and you have physical inventory up to January 31st. So there is the discrepancy of the 2 months of volume of tires that is not involved here.
So meaning you have probably not received the tires as yet?
We could not. The purchase orders never match the deliveries, etc., because some are short, some are not short, so they are made up as you go along with tires. But the value of purchase orders up to March 31st is 300.
Maybe we could also
Microphone, can you?
we bill for what we actually deliver, although the purchase orders come in for specific quantities. So over time, there will always be differences in the quantities, because we get a purchase order for 3 months, but during that time, we may over-deliver or under-deliver according to what the physical needs are, because we deliver according to physical needs, although we have the purchase orders.
All right. Looking back at your income statement, when it says other, that means that it is sales that is not associated with JUTC. Yeah? No, well, if you look back, no, well, you see, again, remember, no, statement of, if you look in this here, if you look back at Jamaica Ultimate Tire, and if you look back on the documents, but this, well,
on a point about it, Mr. Chairman, I think that some of us are really out in the wild because not all of us have this document. So if the clerk could just have one of the orderly get some copies, please.
Well, these documents were sent out, and I don't know the clerk lent 2 that were. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, all I'm asking, if you're talking about with regard to Appendix 10.
No.
So if I could get some direction, because there are a number of financial documents that is here, and I just want to know which one are you speaking to.
All right, let me just say to you also, member, is that when also preparing for these meetings, you may end up coming with documents coming from the budget book itself. So this is from the 2021-22 public bodies that I am referring back to. So I'm just letting you know. So that's okay, that's not in this, but this is what I copied this morning to help to guide me in the proceedings.
Okay, just that you never said that.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm just telling you. This is not in the documents that was provided.
Okay.
But this is coming from the public bodies.
All right. Okay, very well.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm looking at the public bodies that was tabled this beginning of financial year. And it is showing me that the bulk of the sales from Jamaica Ultimate is coming from JUTC. Am I right?
Yes, because they are our number one customer.
Yeah.
Right?
And when I look back at what was provided to us from the JUTC on the value of purchase from the JUTC to Jamaica Ultimate, members, that's the piece that was provided to us. An average of about $250 million on an annual basis. Yeah? And where your income is anywhere in the range of about $350 million. So at least 80% of your sales is coming from. I see you're shaking your head, Mr. Murray.
Yes, sir. I did shook my head because over the years, I don't think JUTC has ever accounted for 80% of total sales. I think the most it has gone is approximately 70%. And we had reduced that somewhat over the years based on our efforts to launch by increasing including other commercial businesses, is that it has now reach as low as 55%.
All right, and so you do retread tires for JUTC, and you do new tires.
Yes,
you
sir.
Provide them with new tires.
All services offered to the JUTC are also offered to the general public.
All right, and let me tell you why, Dr. Dawkins. Why is it that I bring them? Because when I look at some public bodies or agencies within government that are sole supplier members to government entities, that when they spend this amount of money with an entity, there's no cost savings in some instances because they're not able to tender to get the best price for a certain product. And Jamaica Ultimate Tire, and I did a little research myself, and Jamaica Ultimate Tire providing tires solely to the JUTC in that instance. I said 70% of your sales, 55%, whichever way it is. But when you look at the amount of money being spent, when I look at the bottom line of the JUTC, I ask the question then, are they getting the best price? And I mean, I'm just playing devil's advocate, right? Because when you go out to tender, and government always encourage doing that to get the best price, are we getting the best price compared to what would be able to be sought on the market itself? Am I making sense? Dr. Dawkins.
Chairman, I hear you and I understand you, and they would have to advise on their pricing, but I will speak from the point that I purchase tires for my vehicle from Ultimate Tire, and I do shop around, and their price has turned out to be the very best price.
So if I was to ask the JUTC then to do a comparative, to put it out there for tendering of tires, are you saying to me that Jamaica Ultimate Tire can compete with those, with market price?
Their prices have been very competitive.
No, that's not the question, Dr. Dawkins. I'm asking if it was able to purchase tires in the open market. And let me say
I cannot speak to what the outcome of a tender would be. That is why I said their prices are very competitive, but I cannot speak to
I don't doubt that because
process.
they're doing business with the JUTC at this point in time, but it is a sole supplier of tires to the JUTC. And when you look at the bottom line of JUTC in what it is that it requires for maintenance, up to $2 billion a year, 300 million might be a drop in the bucket to that $2 billion. But I think at our committee, it is how it is that cost savings can be made.
You have to include us. So, Mr. Chairman, from my understanding is that Ultimate Tire, a government-owned, it is fully owned by government, came about because government saw the need or saw the usage or the huge usage of tires by the different agencies or state companies. And so they would have formed Ultimate Tire to provide tires at the cheapest possible rate. The volume of tires that is purchased by Ultimate Tires on an annual basis is larger than any other tire company in Jamaica. What I can safely say to you, I do know that Ultimate Tire also have clients who will purchase from them for resale to the general public. And therefore, it is my opinion that Ultimate Tire has to be the one that is providing tire at the cheapest cost. But then again, Mr. Chairman, you do understand that when it comes on to government, if we have more of that partnership within government, wherein one entity supplies the next, I think we will be doing better. I think we will be doing better.
Member.
Chair, I think while I understand my colleague members and the questions that are being asked. I am of the view, Chair, and it's my submission, that these documents that we would have before us, and even the document that you speak to that we don't have sight of just now, would not be able to assist us. What would be able to assist us is if we ask the Ultimate Tire, Jamaica Ultimate Tire Company, or JUTC rather, if they could give us a report, or a cost-benefit analysis report, and then we could be better informed. Because doing it, with all due respect, Chair, doing it this way is lending to speculation. And my friend, Member Clark, giving opinion, what is his opinion, and I have heard other opinions. I would just like to, if we could get a report, that we could really examine and then ask some more informed questions if we need further clarification on the matter, if it please you.
Mr. Chairman, I may have used the word opinion on more than one occasion, but what I said was actually facts.
We understand.
So I just want Hansard to have it written.
We understand. But
that it's actual
I understand
facts.
where Mr. Silvers is coming from as a good auditor himself. But yeah. Member Silvers, is that would have been my next request because to inform us basically. And members, if you look on the report from the JUTC, in the quantities of tires purchased, anywhere between 8,700 tires to a low of 5,700 tires. That's a quite a large number of tires. I'm not saying at any point that that ultimate tire, and I'm being informed by just sitting in this committee for the amount of years that I have had, see where there's one supplier that is providing to an entity when it is the cost saving is not being met where as much as expected because of that umbilical cord. And I'm just saying, if it is needs be, then that we can determine that, and the ultimate tire can lower its price to what the market is giving. It is a savings for the JUTC, who is about to make about a $10 billion loss this financial year. And I'm just saying, I'm only saying that for the benefit of the JUTC itself, not on the bottom line of Ultimate Tire. Because if it is that it is a government entity that is providing to another government entity, then there ought to be realize that savings are not just to pump up the bottom line to say that it is one of the... One second, member. Let me just finish. To say that it is one of the most profitable entities within the government when there's no savings to that other entity that it is supplying to. And that is what I as a member of this committee, trying to determine. Go ahead, member. Before you go, member Civils, go ahead.
Thanks, members, for yielding to me. So therefore, Chair, it would be good if that report that we are requesting
definitely
could have not just the price, but what saved, and not just a comparison to other tire suppliers, but also to indicate for us, instead of us using our own calculator to calculate what savings JUTC would have realized from purchasing from Jamaica Ultimate, or
on the open market.
The reverse, what it would have cost the JUTC from purchasing from Jamaica Ultimate Tire Company instead of purchasing from a different supplier who is selling at a cheaper rate. So in that way, the information would be before all members. Okay. The other thing, Chair, if I may, but I'll yield to my friend, Mr. Clark.
So, Chairman, let me, because I'm a little bit shaky. What the member is asking for is for JUTC to provide a report to us matching prices. So they would have to go and ask for quotation from other suppliers to quote on the tires that are being used. Remember, bear in mind, Ultimate Tire came about because the government saw the need at the time that they were purchasing tire on open market and was paying exorbitant price. And so they decided by way of the usage of the amount of tires that the government uses, that they would have formed that company, which is Ultimate Tire. So it is mind-boggling to me now. It's mind-boggling to me now that we are here asking them to go back on the open market again. Let's say tomorrow morning somebody can provide tires $5 or $10 less than Ultimate. Are we saying that we are going to say to JUTC, you need now to move away from? Then we were going with the report, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Ms. Lee.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I was actually just adding on to what my colleague, Member Civils, has added, and also trying to narrow in on the perspective of Member Clark. So, as both has alluded to, so if Jamaica Ultimate Tire came about so that state agencies can benefit from getting more costly tires and so on, then in addition to the report suggested by Member Siblings from JUTC to see if they are saving on their end, can we also see from Jamaica Ultimate Tire Co's section where they line up, from their end, where they line up in terms of selling tires, the cost for selling tires, what the competitive analysis in terms of the market, just to ensure that the main objective that Jamaica Ultimate Tire was created to do and to meet that they're doing there. So we can just have them do the report and then we can be satisfied with that.
Definitely.
I understand my friend, Member Clark, position that the objective of the government was to enable all its agencies to purchase tire at the cheapest rate based on economic of scale. However, I think this report that will come to us, that we are requesting, is in a sense to do an evaluation as to whether or not the objective, the goal that is set is being achieved. So I do not have any problem with that. I just really want us to get it in that perspective. The other thing, Chair, if I may, quickly.
Just before you move on, because I want members to understand, and I'm sorry, if anything, I'll ask them to copy this for me so that you can get it. This is just a copy from the public bodies, right? Just to remind you also, sorry?
You're losing us each time you take up a document that only you want to have.
But, you know, fortunately or unfortunately, member,
It is
when
unfortunate.
I'm preparing for committee meetings,
As the
I
chairman,
generally, even when I was sitting on that side.
No, we're speaking of the chairman,
Yes,
as the chairman, no.
Yes, so I'm preparing for the meeting. I usually like to have the public bodies.
Bear in mind when you're preparing for the meeting that you have some members also that are a part of the meeting.
And that's why I say I will share. But not to lose the point, is that the Jamaica Ultimate Tire is a wholly owned subsidiary of the JUTC, you know. Yeah? So, at the bottom line, there's no problem with, so it was really set up to import the tires to provide to the JUTC. So they have moved away from relying on the JUTC itself to bringing in other customers when that's not what it was in the earlier part. Hold on, members. All we're trying to establish, and I said, when it comes to government entities, if the JUTC is to go to the open market compared to going directly to, all we're saying is that if they're going to be buying tires for this financial year, and if you look in the for the JUTC, there is a budget of 231 million that is budgeted for 2021-22 to purchase tires. Is that it goes to tender. It be that JUT Ultimate Tire can beat the price, then
but Mr. Chairman, you just made the statement. You just made the statement that Ultimate is an offspring of JUTC.
But it operates separately. It operates separately.
Order,
no, please, member, help me, because
on a point of order, Chair, you said something.
That is not
Chair, on a point of order, you have said something that is based on the law. I would like to get clear. Jamaica Ultimate Tire is a subsidiary of JUTC. However, it is a separate entity, a separate individual. And you said it was done to get the way you crafted the sentence, Chair. I think it gave the impression that JUTC, though it is the main shareholder, is able to go there and overtake the management of Jamaica Ultimate Tire. That's the impression, the inference I got when you said that.
I'm not sure where you got that from, member. But
so,
I never made any such
in the
reference.
sense, I just want to make it, to my mind, that it's very clear that Jamaica Ultimate Tire is a company, and it is it that JUTC own the shares or the AG, who are the holders of the shares? Because yesterday it is the same confusion happened, where we were of the view that that a company, that an agency or department owned the shares when it was being held by the Accountant General. Mm-hmm. Is it being, and I would like for it, is the share held by the Accountant General?
Member, just allow them to answer.
Right. Sometimes the shares have always been owned by JUTC. A couple, I think 2 years or something like that, we got instructions from the Accountant General that all shares held by companies like us should be transferred to them, and that was duly done through the legal system. And Accountant General now has the The shares for Jamaica Ultimate.
So
you understand where I was going, because because I know if that was the case, it would have been ultra-virus, and I think that is what the Accountant General would have contacted you some years ago to inform you that the shares should be transferred to them. So in essence, there is clear independence that Jamaica Ultimate Tire Company is really a company that is independent of the JUTC. It's an independent body. And I just want that to be clear to the public. Separate board and separate management. It can purchase things, can sell things without referring to JUTC. That's what I want to make.
And in that light, Mr. Chairman, we still cannot push aside the idea that whosoever came up with it in 2001, that they saw the need for an entity to be able to supply at the whim and fancy, if I want to use that, JUTC where tires are concerned. But at the same time, what I overheard from Mr. Garnett Gray, Murray, sorry, I just see the R.
You had Gray in your mind, go on.
Yeah. Is that they have now been prudent enough to say, okay, we're not waiting on JUTC alone. We are going to go out there to sell. So you're even selling car tires and bicycle tires.
Not selling bicycle tires yet.
I know.
But you understand what he means.
But they are selling other tires.
I got you.
And which is business prudent, Mr. Chairman?
It is. No. It is, because when you look at their numbers coming, what they have provided to us, you can see the shift, which is commendable. At the end of the day, and again, remember, our remit is also to look at when an entity like the JUTC comes in front of us, and we haggle with them about fuel. I mean, the JUTC or let me put it this way, it is our said Minister of Finance that has come to this house in merging and wrapping up some entities and revenue from those entities going into the consolidated fund, because I remember his words, there are too many of them. Now, for me, as the chairman, as a member of parliament and a member of this committee and the spokesperson on transport, every time that I look on the JUTC's balance sheet or income statement and seeing what they spend, and when I did my own research, and that their sole supplier of tires, over $200 million a year, right? And I'm happy that the member asked for that cost analysis, because when I did my own, believe me, there's not a matching up, right? And I'm saying that the Ultimate Tire themselves have the opportunity with pricing. If it is that JUTC is buying X amount of tires per year, and just ask for the best price in the market. That's all. That's all. Yes. Go ahead, member.
I was just trying to find out, because if the Ultimate Tire is selling to other customers, then they must be competitive, else they wouldn't be in the market.
Well,
competition would drive them out of the market.
I would, as Member Sibley's asked for that comparison, the price comparison, which will be done by the JUTC, and as Member Lee asked for Ultimate Tire to give their pricing of what they supply the tires to JUTC, and then the committee can make that determination after.
And Chair, as in reality, what you find too is that with JUTC, is JUTC the biggest, your biggest customer for Ultimate Tire?
Yes.
Right, and normally in entities like these, you find that they get even a better discount than the regular customers. So possibly the report will show, right, the report will show
that what Member Sibley's asked.
Right? Yeah, the report
Member
will show.
Morrison. Member.
Thank you, Chair. having established the facts pertaining to the operation of Ultimate Tile, Chairman, I just want to be very clear about the issues that you have. And having received this clarity, there's a question that I want to ask. What is the issue that you are having, Chairman, coming out of this report?
It's not really an issue. All I'm asking is JUTC getting the best price from a sole supplier compared to going to the open market for the same material. That's all we want to establish.
What I'm interested, I am listening to my colleagues' discussion about cost, and one member spoke about getting the cheapest cost possible. I am going to diverge from that a minute to focus on value for money. Because there are instances when you can get the cheapest cost, but is it necessarily value for money? That's what I'm interested in. And not just to look at one aspect of it, but to look at the entire spectrum of the relationship, where I can form a solid conclusion that coming out of this report, indeed, this is value for money. This is the ultimate, pun intended, best spend. That's what I want to see generated. Thank you.
Well, take on Member Series last one, so we can move on.
Yes, Chair. Two points I want to raise quickly. When we are, I don't know if it's our doing as members, we are asking for report, and we are going to compare reports. Maybe we should ask the entity as at what date, and even go even further to say whether we want payables, what is payables? Payables for one company and receivables for a next company in terms of tires. If we make the request like that, then we would be comparing apples with apples, and we do so as at a particular date.
I'm not following you with the payables.
Because, Chair, this is what I realized.
No, you're asking, use the two entities, JUTC and Ultimate.
Yeah, JUTC. One would have a payables account to Jamaica Ultimate.
Yes.
And Jamaica Ultimate would have a receivable account to JUTC. If we would like to make comparison as it relates to tire sale and purchases, then we would have to ask for the receivables from Jamaica Ultimate as at March 31st, 2020, for example, and the same thing and the payables as at 2020. Because this morning, when we asked question as to why the figures are different, we are given the reasons which I find to be justified, that it is due to the dates, as well as one is delivered, and as vis-a-vis one is legal request that Ultimate is legal because a purchase order was raised, and therefore that the company that raised the purchase order would have to account for it in their books. So that is some of the reasons that and so I would really love if when we are making these requests, we make the request so that at least when the reports come, we know they have the same dates, and we are looking at apples with apples.
All right. So moving forward, what we would ask, Madam Acting PS, just for the price comparisons for JUTC, beta, to ask request for pricing from Jamaica Ultimate compared to at least 3 other companies on the outside. Yeah? Also, for the Jamaica Ultimate tab, Ms. Lee, Member Lee? Also for Jamaica Ultimate to provide their pricing of the tires supplied to JUTC, independent of what JUTC would provide to us of the comparative pricing. That was your request, all right? Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to put a little bit of clarity here, because it's not only new tires that JUTC
You do the retread also.
The retread is an integral part of their operation. Without the retread, I'm not sure that they, based on how the whole thing evolves and how it works.
Meaning Jamaica Ultimate tires.
Yes. No, we provide all the retreads, and the retreads are essential to their operations.
About how many retreads you do annually?
I could ask Mr. Murray to give you the figures.
The ratio would have been, because the JUTC applies retread tires to the rear of all their buses. So approximately, if you look at a 6-wheeler, approximately 4 of the 6 tires would have been retread tires, while 2 would have been new tires.
Yeah.
So it is very important, sir, that we ensure that while purchasing new tires, they meet the quality specification of the JUTC, while at the same time they meet the quality specification required for the retreading process.
Yeah, gotcha. That is very important.
Additionally, sir, maybe this is not taken into consideration, but based on the relationship of the 2 entities, over time, the credit arrangements that is there, it is not provided and would not be provided by commercial enterprises.
No, I don't want to get me or get us wrong that we are saying that there's a severing of ties, or we are encouraging a severing of ties. Let me just state that for the record. That is not my intention at all, or the committee's intention, if I can speak on behalf of the members. It is just ensuring that JUTC, through its sister company, Ultimate Tire, is as competitive as those out on the open market. That's all that I'm trying to clarify. So if it is that you're selling at a higher price and he can get it lower, that Ultimate Tire themselves may say, well, we will have to meet what you can get it for out there. So that is, my intention is not of saying to sever, but the JUTC should be able to at least know that they are getting. And if it is that, you understand? Because in a market like this, to say that there's one supplier and solely one supplier, for me, in some instances, it's just not getting value for money. I'm just making that assumption where Ultimate Tire. I'm not saying that they are not. Because as you rightfully say, you have a credit arrangement, it's a government entity to government entity, but that needs to be sought. So all we are asking for is a report that will then now determine if they are getting, or can they make savings, or what the savings are out there, right? Members, I just want to refer to, sure.
Hey, Chairman, I just wanted to add, I'm very clear on the report that is being requested. The question, one of the questions that came to mind, however, is that we do have a established procurement process and procurement guidelines. And so while we're being asked to go and seek pricing from other suppliers, we will have to be careful that we are not doing an informal tender process or anything. Right. That's what I just want to be clear.
Let me make it clear. Whoever it is that the pricing is being sought from would have to make sure that they have the TCCs, NCCs, whatever. I mean, so that they have to be compliant to be able to supply to government. So it's not just going out there and say, give me a price of 2 tires or
But sure, that is not what the PS is saying is not that. And if we go there, it is going right to what the PS is saying, that the company legally don't want to get itself into a legal bind by making certain inquiries out there about prices, obtaining prices, because they may be of the view that we are, whether it's direct tendering or limited tendering. And because, yes, Chair, when you look at, I know where the PS is going because I have a little knowledge of this procurement.
So let me ask you a question. Hold on. Member.
Can I just complete, Chair?
Go ahead.
What I think the PS is saying that they just want to be cautious as to how they go and make inquiries for these prices. And I'm saying, just be honest. We are like to, when you're asking for the prices, we would like to make a comparison. The reason for making this inquiry, we are in the process of putting a document together, and we'd like to make comparison.
Thank you, member. Just going back to your appendix number 11, your accounts receivables. In the second to last line, over 90, or when I look at your totals, there are quite a bit of negative figures. Is that an overpayment, or what is the explanation for that? Because at the bottom of it, of that over 90, you have a negative $12 million. What? I said it. Appendix 11.
Page, what's the page?
Well, just the appendix itself, the complete document. It's their accounts receivables.
Yes, sir. It would have, in fact, be a payment made by JUTC that was, it was in fact an advance payment, but some way, somehow, based on the fact that JUTC has not been taking off as much tires, are doing as much business as possible, it remains there for future use. For future use, sir.
Well, if you look this, all right, on this document itself, which is a 4-page document, back and front, Appendix 11, we're talking about the same?
I should think so.
Because if I'm to look at the line item for, let's use Audley Finnegan, where I see a negative 2,500.
Yes, sir. And that is so for several other customers that would have made down payment, especially for retread tires. Right? So we have cases where customers would come in and they would pay in advance just to secure their tires.
Okay, so that means, so this is an overpayment. The negative is an overpayment of $12 million that you have on your books.
Yes, sir. For future usage.
Okay.
For the customer.
overpayment. It will be
Could
a
have been
prepayment.
Deposit
You mean a
and price.
prepayment?
Deposit or prepayment.
Okay.
Right.
Because overpayment is a total.
Prepayment.
Yes,
Well,
that's a fact.
Well,
All right.
exactly. So,
The
thanks for the-
prepayment.
yes. So it is prepayments of $12 million that you have on your books for clients, for customers. Okay. All right. Members, any other questions where Jamaica Ultimate Tire is concerned?
I don't have any.
No. All right. Thank you, Mr. Murray and Madam Acting GM. Thank you very much. All right, members, we can move on to the JUTC. Mr. Abrams. Morning, sir.
Morning, Chair.
All right.
Morning, team members.
Do you want to do an opening statement before members go to the...
Just to say that information was requested on us, and we have supplied information. JUTC, as you know, has been affected severely by the pandemic, and our numbers are showing that. However, we still offer a service to the commuting public, which is necessary. So therefore, I invite any questions that would want to come from yourself and the chair and the members.
All right, members, we have the document in front of us. And we had asked some questions that has been, some questions of the JUTC, which has been supplied to us. Looking at the, as Mr. Abrams alluded to, the effect of the pandemic on the JUTC, which seems to be hit very hard by, even though the numbers were not looking as attractive prior to the pandemic, but it has doubled up since the pandemic. So we asked some questions. Fare boxes since the start of the financial year compared to the previous year. Total fare box as at January 31st, 2021 is 1.34 billion, which reflects a negative variance of 55.63% in comparison to the 3.02 billion collected during the corresponding period for financial year 2019-2020. The year-to-date total of payables as at January 31st, 2021 is 11.76 billion. Parts in hand, parts needed for part buses, value of those parts, the total value of spare parts in hand as at January 31st, 2021 is 1.46 billion. The value of the parts needed for units that are parked is 1.85 billion. Buses needed to transport the public, a total of 440 buses is needed by the JUTC to transport the commuting public. Volume of tires purchased from Jamaica Ultimate Tire Company, Jamaica Limited annually. The JUTC has purchased 6,023 and 8,163 tires from Jamaica Ultimate Tires in the financial year 2018-19 and 2019-2020 respectively. The volume of tires purchased from Jamaica Ultimate Tires Limited for this financial year, year-to-date total tires purchased from JUTCL as of February 28, 2021 is 5,736 tires. Payables due to Jamaica Ultimate Tire Company Limited. There are no outstanding amounts due to Jamaica Ultimate Tire Companies. Payables for petrol, as at payables for petrol, a total of 16.2 million is due to Johnson Petroleum for the supply of petrol. Numbers of mechanic on staff, there are 127 mechanics employed to the JUTC. Are the questions that, the answers to the questions that we had tabled to the JUTC. Mr. Abrams, well, let me start with, again, Madam Pierce, an item that came in the income statement in the public bodies, because it would show that the JUTC would be making a $1.2 billion profit in the 2020-21 financial year. But as an auditor, this 4.422 billion that the government is paying on behalf of the JUTC, this is what statutory is?
Yes, Chairman, statutory write-offs.
That, because when I look at your accounts payable, there is a statutory payables of $7.7 billion. This is the $4 billion is from this figure?
That is correct, sir. $4 billion subtracts from that figure.
And the issue, which is not your issue, but it is put as an income to the JUTC in their income statement in the public bodies, which would then bump up their revenues by an additional $4 billion, which does not give the correct picture of the JUTC.
Chair, once again, we are made handicapped because we don't get a copy of that document that you're talking from. But with regard, I would really would love to see the complete document to see on what basis the accounting entry was made to have post date as a revenue, because we would have to. I would want to know: is it a grant? What was it that came in terms of the correspondence that would have come with the check?
Chairman, just to note that those statutories go back to as far as 2012.
2012?
Yeah, 2012. So it's significant portion that goes back to 2012.
If my memory serves me well, this should have been paid from the 2019-2020 financial year, and was not paid, so it is now carried over into the 2020-2021 financial year.
That's correct.
And this is statutory coming back from 2012. What else we have outstanding from us? Because when I look at your vacation accruals and your advances and refunds, well, the GCT withheld also is a significant amount. If you look on Appendix 2, just look at Appendix 2. Start from the front and look for Appendix 2, and you see where I'm referring to.
Let's ask the DMD of Finance to answer that question.
There was also a write-off of the GCT.
There was a write-off of the GCT from the Ministry of Finance?
Yes.
What year was that?
From 2013-14 when it started to July of last year. So the figure has now been reduced to...
So this $1 billion has been reduced to what?
Currently in March, it's now 90-something million. It's now 96 million.
And climbing?
Pardon me?
And climbing?
Well, yes, it will increase each month, because remember, we were zero rated, and then we're placed in a situation where...
Well, that's all government entities.
Right.
Will now have to pay
but
over
arrangement
GCT.
was made for the central government, not for entities like ours. So we accumulate it until Ministry of Finance does something about it.
And there was one instance where the SCT on fuel was not applied to the JUTC.
It is applied now. We
And
pay fuel taxes.
And you now pay the fuel taxes?
Yes.
And that is up to date?
Yes.
That one is up to date?
Yes.
All right, so this 1.17 billion for GCT which has been reduced, and from the statutory payables, 1.173 billion dollars.
Where you got that, Chair?
Look at GCT withheld.
The 1173 is the previous month.
Yes, I know. And I say it has been reduced to 96 million, as you just mentioned. Yeah? Yes?
No, the figure you mentioned to him is the previous month,
yes.
Which is December. January figure was 1184.
Yes. Sorry. Are you following now, Member Simmons?
Yes.
Yes.
Thought you said GCT, so I'm just looking for GCT alone, not GCT with L tax, which is a different thing.
And you're saying that the statutory payables have been paid down by the $4 billion.
Yes.
That is. And the salary deduction, which is current, would be 75 million. That any movement in?
As of end of January, that is normally paid up.
That's normally paid up?
Yes.
All right.
Otherwise, you'd probably hear our staff talking about it. You haven't heard anything in years, so that's up to date.
Any other questions on the balance sheet, Shadow? Members? Mr. Abrams, of the 440 buses that you would require, with the pandemic, you are rolling out about how many buses on a daily basis now?
Availability is about 250. Availability. 250.
And and you're showing where your fare table has fallen by between 55 and 60%.
Correct.
You're maintaining a similar staff complement, reduce revenue, rolling out less buses. I'm sure your fuel bill would have fallen a little bit because of the less buses. How you're keeping JUTC open with, I mean, you were basically, what, about 100 compared to your projections year after year. You generally fall short by about $100 million in revenue. If I am to look at you would have done $1.4 billion estimated for 2020-21. You're projecting 2.4, and that is going to determine on how fast we deal with this pandemic, right? But looking at a net loss of, operating loss of about $8 billion. I mean, what are the plans moving forward in just sustaining the JUTC? Are we going to sustain it as a larger entity or a reduced entity, or how is it? Because if you don't get the money to fix the buses also, and Madam Pierce, can you give us an update on the buses that should have been purchased that was in the budget for, it was 50 buses?
Okay, so we have gone through the procurement process for the 50 buses, but again, because of the pandemic and the unexpected cost to government, we had not concluded our procurement process, but we are still going ahead with the procurement, and we expect that we will be able to get those buses into the fleet I don't have a date to give you, but it is within, what month are we in now? April? I'd say within the next year, because the buses would still have to be ordered and constructed, so you know there's a
So it is
timeline.
in this financial year that purchase will be made?
We are working out the arrangements to try to get the buses as early as possible.
Yeah, but I know you're not getting them free, and
No.
I didn't see a figure in the budget itself, neither in the Ministry of Finance nor the Ministry of Transport for the buses. So that's what I'm trying to determine. If you're going to get them next year or a year from now, then at least a deposit would have to be made on the buses, some payment of a sort. But I did not see that figure in any of the ministries or agencies at all.
So we had not concluded the procurement process, but we are in discussions with Ministry of Finance to finalize the timelines for the procurement. So the procurement is still on, but we're in discussion with Finance to determine the timelines in terms of when we can make a deposit so that the construction of buses can proceed.
Okay, so we're unsure yet of the financing part of it.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Abrams, on my earlier question on...
I think all the things you said are correct, sir. But it's been noted that the JUTC faced a pandemic in March of last year. We still have provided a service, all not being a perfect service. And we are constrained by seated passengers only, very few standing. The changing in the orders consistently of days of closing down operations. So it has been a fluid situation where the operation operates basically on its feet to make adjustments as we go along. Revenue is significantly hampered by that. However, we are doing our best to ensure that we can still provide the service that is needed in the KMTR. We depend heavily on the Ministry of Finance for their subvention, and we have moved our salary component down to almost 1,900 now, so we do have some additional staff members based on the relaxed rollout, which we intend to climb slowly. The question is, you can run out a lot of buses, but you basically have a few passengers to carry because of the seating arrangements and the competition we face out there. We will basically run the operation on a peak operation now and withdraw a number of buses during the off-peak, because that's where our real revenue base is, in the peak operation.
What's your... Where are your revenues? Because when I look at the table that has been provided by you, and that's Appendix 1, Appendix 1A and 1B members, if you're interested. I mean, your adults is where you would have made a significant amount of 106 million with your budgeted, this is in January, 260, you're down by 60%. And I guess those for school children would be basically down.
Yes, so all our concession.
Or non-existent.
Yeah, concession is non-existent. Charter revenue is non-existent. We projected approximately 260 million, I believe, 250 million for charter, and we've basically lost all that revenue. There are no concession students, which is about approximately 40% of our ridership, 40% of the ridership. So those will be the actual tools that affect revenue right now.
Because this would show a variance of 64%, negative 64% just for January alone.
Yeah, and it has come basically from March of last year, but it has progressed as we go along. So the average is about 50%.
Member Service.
Chair, what I would be very much interested in as being done both in the private sector and the public sector is the recasting of your budget. Because to really be using the same budget that was put together prior to COVID is really a bit of a challenge. And I know that since the epidemic, the pandemic, quite a number of organizations have recasted their budget. Had you gone through that exercise of recasting the budget for this period that you have done? Or is it the budget that you would have had before?
This current budget is the budget that was established before COVID. To answer your second question, yes, the JUTC is in the process right now of recasting a new budget under the instructions of the Ministry of Transport and Mining, and we actually took that budget to Finance Committee yesterday, and we are in the process of just fine-tuning it to forward it on to the Ministry of Transport.
What you're referring to, but there's a new budget that has been tabled. We're in a new financial year also, where the numbers are not much different compared to, because if you look at the revenue stream for 2021-22, you can copy this summary so that I can share to the members.
And a point of order, we are saying it for some time. If I'm used to chair, I'm a very new member of the PAC, very new member of Parliament. So I don't know our committee. That is not even challenging right now. But what I'm used to in my other lives is that when a document is being used, it is shared from the beginning and it is copied. So if we could, I don't know if we could going forward, if we are going to make reference to documents, if we could circulate the document so that we can all be on the same page. But to answer that question, Chair, which you are making reference to, the budget for 2021, which ends March 31st, 21, would have been casted about October 2019.
Not 2020.
Okay? And therefore, I had asked if it was recasted because in business organization, whether it be private or public sector, once you meet upon a challenge, you are going to have not just normal operational variance, but you're going to have planning variance. And the planning variance come about because something happened that was not expected and could not have been foreseen. And that is what happened with the COVID-19. So I am thinking all these variances now, to my mind, is planning variance. And to really to be having a discussion about planning variance is when every time you ask a question, it's going to come back to you that we are not taking children. There's new laws that says that we have to comply with, that we only have 5 persons standing, only seated passengers at one time. We are going to be getting the same reasons. And therefore, what would have been good through you, Chair, to Mr. Abrams, if we would have had the recasted budget for that period. And I'm taking that we don't have the recasted budget for that period based on your answer earlier that said that you have recast the current budget to 2021 to 2022, right? And it is that budget that the chairman is saying it look sort of similar to the previous year, hence maybe it was not recasted. But I am going to presume that you have done this budget based on the whole vaccine projection and all of that. But if you have not, I would ask that JUTC will look at its figure, and because it would not be planning variance the next time, because you are aware of COVID-19. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, both budgets were recasted, and I think that what we did was we took a look at the COVID situation, and from those numbers, we actually are recasting a new budget now. So what we did was we took the numbers from that period, saw our run out, saw our revenue base, saw what charter did, saw all of those variances, and based on that, we have now plugged them into a new budget, which will give a truer picture as to what we are to expect. And based on that, that's how we are progressing with it. Hopefully by in the next month, that budget will be forwarded to the Ministry of Transport and Mining.
All right. I just want to go to question parts and the appendix that you sent, appendix number 3. All right, so the total value of spare parts in hand as at January 31st, 2021 is 1.46 billion. And when I look at the appendix 3, members, I'm waiting on member Sibley so that I don't lose him. Yeah, you're there? Yeah. Good, sir. Yeah. You don't have DAF buses anymore?
Quite a bit of those parts are obsolete parts. Quite a bit of those are slow-moving parts.
That's this $1.4 billion in parts?
Yeah. In 2016, we had a parts complement of 1.1 approximately, 1.1 billion in 2016. What we have done since is that we are now ordering parts based on our scheduled rollout. Which
of the
means that
buses?
For as you need buses, meaning, for example, we take a look now at all the parts inventory, which has to come through the Office of the Managing Director to see when the depots request parts through their maintenance managers. It is now sent on to stores for stores to look at the list of parts required, see what is in there. If not, it's forwarded on to procurement, and then the order is made. We are ordering strictly for schedule rollout right now. Parts such as long-running parts, we are not ordering as many as we would have.
What? I didn't hear that.
Long-running parts. Fenders, back windshields, those things, we're not stocking up on those. We're going straight to the as we need everyday service parts.
But the reason why I'm focusing on this is because every time that we ask, what is the parts in stock, we get this big $1 billion. But then yet we always hear that we don't have parts. We need, as you say here, you need $1.8 billion worth of parts. So these are parts that are not really readily needed for the buses?
I think the question, Chairman, is that what did we need to rehabilitate the fleet?
Yes.
So if I'm to rehabilitate the JUTC fleet,
yes,
we're going to need a tremendous amount of parts.
Yeah.
Because we have quite a number of buses that are down for engine, transmissions, differentials, damage for accidents, etc. So if it's rehabilitation of the entire fleet, it is going to be very costly.
So what percentage of this 1.4 would be slow-moving parts that are not?
As I said, in 2016, we had 1.1 billion there. In 2016. When I took over in 2016, I had 1.15 billion there.
or 1.1 billion
Yeah, when I took over in March.
value of parts that was there in 2016.
Yeah, when I took over in 2016, I had 1.15 billion in parts there of slow-moving, obsolete, and then we restructured the parts component of ordering specifically now for the scheduled operation. So we don't order any longer parts that are slow-moving parts.
And when you say slow-moving parts, parts that may not be readily needed for the
like
the
differentials,
bus, for the rollout of the buses,
yeah,
as
differentials, rear windows, roof vents, etc. Those things.
So they are not really mechanical.
They're mostly body and mechanical.
Body and mechanical.
Body and mechanical.
So when we say a bus without a window and plyboard, that means you don't have it in stock?
We are just actually right now in a program of removing windows from buses that we deemed could not go back into operation, and we're now changing those plyboard windows into new because we didn't have those before. So we're now in the process of taking out all the windows for border survey units that are written off, transferring those windows right now into the plywood windows. That process is undergoing right now.
But to carry such a large value of stock that is not moving, I mean, impacts your balance sheet.
We have tried over the years to dispose of the obsolete parts.
Yeah.
We have parts going back to older buses, severely older buses from 2004, 2005. So we are trying desperately, and I think the board is going to give us the undertaking to just dispose of them as scrap because nobody wants them, and they're just sitting on our balance sheet, close to 180 million.
Yeah. The issue that came up in the overtime, has any adjustment been made to that?
Yes. Management took some strategic decisions as to how to handle overtime. I will just give it a year-to-date figure. The year-to-date figure is 64% positive.
Go again?
64% positive. So, for example, our year-to-date figure, I'll just give it a year-to-date.
Positive? It's a 64% positive?
Positive variance.
Positive variance.
Oh, meaning you have reduced the overtime hours.
Meaning that you have spent less than what you had expected for overtime.
Much less.
By 64%. That's what you're saying?
Yes. Our budget is 339,877,388.29, and we have spent actual to date 121,597,514.26, and that carries us up to March.
All right.
So we have a positive variance of 64.22 variance. Along with other items we are taking a look at, and because we acknowledge the fact that revenue is a challenge, we have to look at expenditure. How do we curtail any positive expenditure we can?
I'm still not sure how it is apart from the $5.3 billion that is expected from government subvention, that we even keep the doors of the JUTC open. Because, I mean, if we're to use from the last financial year what is estimated, and take out that $4.4 billion, which is the interest and penalty write-off, I mean, your revenues would only be about $1.6 billion. And if you're to add your operating income, operating expenses of $8.1 billion, and less that from that, you'd have a operating deficit of about $6.5 billion. You know, and as Member Sibley's alluded to, if, you know, how is it, and I asked the question, how is it that we're tweaking the operation itself to align to what is happening now? Less fear box, less rollout, you know, you're basically on the verge or have been bankrupt for a very long time.
Point of order. That's not what I had said, tweak your operation. What I had said was the
recasting of the budget.
Recasting of the budget, which might mean not even tweaking the operation. I don't want anybody from JUTC to go away with the point that I'm saying tweak your operation, because I'm not there. Well, I don't know the challenges, but I was just saying recast the budget so that we can understand that you have taken into consideration all the challenges of COVID-19 pandemic effects. That's what I said.
Well, my words then, Mr. Abrams, is I would love to see a somewhat plan in how it is that we have tweaked the operation itself to stay within the ambit of the reduced revenue stream that you have, where you still have to be buying tires, you still have to be paying staff, you still have, even though smaller, but you still have a large staff complement, you have depots to maintain, and you're dependent heavily now on the subvention of government to keep the doors open. Because where you had a bigger fare box then, you were able to do many things on your own, compared that if even the subvention, the drawdown is late, at least you are able to operate. But now you're in a critical area that if the subvention is late, you may not even be able to pay your staff at what your revenue stream compared to what your payables are. You know, so I would like to say, Madam Pierce, just a little, I don't want to say business plan, but just something to say to the committee. This is what we are doing to cost savings in ensuring that we can stay within the revenue streams that we have. All right? Member Lee, I see your mic on, so.
No.
Yeah? Is there any other questions for the JUTC? Yes. No. Yes.
One final question. Mr. Abrams, do you have any kind of engagement as it relates to training for drivers relative to their competence and behavior and attitude? I think that is one of a major concern that
we have a full driver training program. We also have a physical location that teaches our drivers. Periodically, I'll refer drivers back to training or refer drivers back to refresher training. We do have that program, and it is an active program. It's controlled by HR. And yes, we do have such a program. And actually, it's a lot of driver referrals come across my desk, which are forwarded on to HR for refresher training and retraining. Yes, for competence, we have customer training also, competence training, driver training, IT training, a host of training operations we have at the JUTC.
All right, any other questions? Madam Pierce, on Montego Bay Metro, if we could also just get a report on Montego Bay Metro also.
Are there any particular
just an overall
similar to what was asked for JUTC then?
Sorry?
So
yes,
you're asking for something similar?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. let me thank Dr. Dawkins and the team, Mr. Abrams and his team, for attending upon the PAAC, and we look forward to those reports that will come. All right, thank you. Members, quickly. Members, as we move to any other business.
Yes, Chair. With regards to scheduling of the agenda and the meetings, I'm just saying in time that, in light of time is of the essence, could we deal with that matter the next meeting first thing on the, we can look at it on the agenda?
Well, we have to set at least the next meeting.
Yes.
All right.
I presume that there will be a next meeting.
Yeah, well, we have some reports that we asked for. We had agreed at the meeting that we will ask some ministries, departments and agencies to give us some reports to looking at the effect of the pandemic on the various ministries. Yeah, so we got from the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, and the Ministry of Agriculture, and we got from Ministry of Tourism too. Yeah, we also got from the Ministry of Tourism. Members, as I am proposing that May 5th we invite the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries and the Ministry of Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce on May 5th. We just take those two ministries on that day. And on the 12th, the Ministry of Tourism. I'm proposing those two dates. You see, one of the challenges is that if we don't take the dates, we have to know if we're going to take the dates or not, because you have some committees that are needing of dates at this point in time, especially joint select committees. And we saw what the challenges are when we have the joint select committees on the same days as other committees. So since we have these reports, and we have asked for these reports for quite a while, they were emailed out to us, and I think there were some hard copies that were put on the desk. So I am proposing those two dates.
Chair, we deal with these reports for those two dates.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Chair, so the next time we meet, we'll look at the scheduling of the
well,
other
we have
dates.
to know who. Yeah.
Because I am just of a mind with regards to the budget and the various departments, and how we look. If we could have a better idea of the scheduling for the entire
but remember, you have to
period.
remember, it is the committee's suggestion of who tend upon the committee. So if it is that you have an agency or department that you want to send a report, it is good. All right, let me explain. When we ask a ministry to appear in front of the committee, they at least need 3 weeks. Yeah? So if it is that there is one that you want to recommend to the committee itself, it is best that you say that now, because once we come to the next meeting, you would have another 2 to 3 weeks, another 3 to 4 weeks before we can invite them to the committee itself. So if you want to make a suggestion, then, because otherwise our consultant will be setting out a schedule for this financial year, and we will ask those ministries, departments, and agencies to send reports according to that once we approve that schedule.
Chair, I'll take the matter next week. I'll take up this matter next week at the next sitting.
This is May 5th,
as
yes.
time is of the essence. Chair.
Okay, no problem.
I take up this matter.
Not a problem. All right. All right, members. Thanks again, members, especially for those who had to split themselves between committees for at least attending upon the PAAC. All right, so I move for. So the date of the next meeting is May 5th, where the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries and the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce will appear in front of the committee. All right, I move for the adjournment. So moved.
So moved.
Thank you, members.